ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Winner of the 2024 West Virginia Broadcasters Association Excellence in Broadcasting Award for Best Talk Show.
It is Tuesday, October 15th. We're halfway through the month, and we are halfway through the football season. Welcome in. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is going to be 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Coming up this hour, we're going to hear from Coach Huff in just a few minutes. I headed over earlier today to the Shuey building so I could be a part of the presser. We're going to hear some of his select comments on the upcoming matchup. Of course, he had some things to say as well about the loss, so we're going to hear that in a few minutes, and we'll hear it in context as well, not just a highlight of it, because I know some of the comments of Neil Brown, WVU's head coach, those were played a little out of context, a snippet here, a snippet there, and he came off really bad sounding. So we're going to give Coach Huff his due. We're going to play everything in context today so you can hear his complete statement. Also, earlier today, Sunbelt Media Day for men's basketball. So we've got a couple of comments from head coach Cornelius Jackson. So Coach Corny coming up later on. And then about 5:30 on the show, going to speak with the play-by-play voice of Georgia State, Dave Cohen. We're going to catch up with him. It's been a while. We'll talk about this matchup between Marshall and Georgia State. The last 2 years, the home team has won, so hopefully that's going to be the outcome for the Thundering Herd on Thursday. And don't forget, we'll be back on the West Lot. We go on the air. It's an 8 o'clock kick, so we go on the air at 5 o'clock. I'm looking forward to it. Check that. It's a 7 o'clock and 4 o'clock. I'm getting my because they moved that game back. I apologize. Let me double check that. 4 o'clock airtime. 7 o'clock kick. We'll be on the air right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We got a big one tonight in the Sun Belt. Troy's taking on South Alabama. That's coming up tonight at 7:30 p.m. So a little Tuesday night Sun Belt action. You know, I like it, but I don't think I like it for Marshall. I don't know if I want Marshall to be playing on the Tuesday night in the regular season. I'm okay with Thursday. Thursday's kind of a big deal. You can play a Thursday night game, but I don't think I like the Tuesday night game. I don't want to get into that Maction realm here. I don't want to have those Tuesday, Wednesday, weeknight games for the rest of November. I don't want that. So I'm happy we've got the Thursday night game. It'll be a good game. Looking for a college football game on Thursday night. This will be your game to watch. Hopefully the Herd can turn it around. And again, we'll hear from Coach Huff in just a few minutes. Of course, basketball is quickly approaching as well. When we hear from Coach Jackson in just a few minutes, just keep in mind that the men were picked by the league's coaches to finish 10th this season. Nate Martin is a first-teamer, and Obina Anachili-Killen is a second-teamer. So you're picked 10th, but you've got a first-teamer and a second-teamer on your team. And, of course, we all know Nate Martin is definitely all Sun Belt, and I think Obina Anachili-Killen is right there with him. So it should be, hopefully, a better season than 10th. What do the coaches know, right? I mean, the coaches picked Marshall on the women's side 6th. What do they know? New coach, she's been successful at lower levels. Same thing with Kim Caldwell coming in last season. She was successful at lower level. Then she came up and brought that success to Huntington. Jolie Folks doing the same. Maybe she's going to bring that success to Huntington. We'll see. A lot of the same players are back. JMU getting a little bit more love on the women's side. So I don't know if I like where the Herd is picked by the coaches. 6, it's not bad, but it's not good either. And especially since you're the reigning and defending champions of the league. I would like to think that would earn you a little bit more respect, but playing from the 6th spot, okay. I would use that. I don't know what kind of motivator that Coach Folks is. I don't know how she likes to operate, but that's something we definitely should be asked of her. How do you feel about being in that 6th spot? So we're going to get to all of this coming up. We're going to hear from her tomorrow as well. So we got a lot to get into today, and we're going to hear from Coach Huff in just a few minutes, so looking forward to that. And before I go and get into the show, don't let me forget, we got a ticket giveaway today. We're going to have 4 tickets for you to go see the Herd take on Georgia State. And again, that is a 7 o'clock airtime on Thursday night. So I've got a 4-pack of tickets for you. So let's get that text line going now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Herd's favored in this one. What do you think the final score is going to be? Is it going to be a Herd victory, a nice bounce-back win, or will Georgia State come in and shock the Herd? Being it's a home game, I like Marshall's chances better. And instead of it being a road game, I like the Herd's chances better in this situation. But do you think Marshall's going to be able to turn it around, hang on to the ball, put more points on the board? What do you think? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Again, 4 tickets today on the line. We're going to give you an opportunity to win those throughout the day on our text line. When we continue, let's hear a little bit from Coach Huff. We've got his comments about the loss, and he takes responsibility. This is day 2 of him speaking to the camera, directly to the Herd faithful, about taking responsibility. We'll get his thoughts on that. You'll hear it in its entirety when we continue, and we'll get your text in. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year again, football season. Frank's has you covered from Marshall, WVU, the rest of college football to the NFL. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the Tri-State. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
In the early morning hours of September 27th, Hurricane Helene made its way into the mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia, leaving devastation in its wake. In response to this tragedy, the Kindred family of stations is partnering with the Robert Newland Air Park to organize a Hurricane Helene relief concert on Friday, October 25th at 7 p.m. at the new pavilion at the Robert Newland Air Park. As proud Appalachians, we know the toll this disaster has taken on our friends and communities. For just $10 at the door, you can join us for this essential fundraiser, and we're honored to feature performances by the Bing Brothers Band, Jack Crack, the Huntington Blues Society, Larry Atkins, the Karaoke King, and many more artists to be announced. Food and beverages will be available for purchase at the Pavilion and inside the Fly-In Cafe. All proceeds will go directly to organizations in some of the hardest hit areas of Western North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. Let us stand together as a community, united in compassion and hope. We look forward to seeing you there, supporting those in need with the Fly-In Cafe, the Robert Newland Air Park, and Kindred family of stations.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our text line's now open. If you're not familiar with the number, it's real simple. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texter writes in and says, Paul, the Herd bounces back and wins 27-20, and go Herd. All right, it's a good way to get everything started off right. So Herd already getting some of your love. Coach Huff earlier today addressing the media, addressing the fans as well, as it was his weekly press availability to those of us here in the local area. And so on his Sunbelt call yesterday, he spoke out and basically apologized to the fans and everyone for the loss and took responsibility. And that's where we start with Coach Huff today. Sort of a reiteration of what he said yesterday, just a little bit more of an expansion upon that. He's apologized. I mean, everybody was mad. If you tuned into the postgame show after the broadcast on Saturday night, we went into Sunday morning, actually, with the postgame. For those of you who stayed up, and there were a lot of people who stayed up, a lot of you were just angry and did not want Coach Huff to come back. I mean, there were some of you telling me, hey, he should find other transportation and not come back. Just leave him, resign now. That's how mad a lot of people were. Well, Coach Huff, I'm sure, has heard either indirectly or directly about a lot of those comments, and I'm sure he's seen social media as well. So for the second day in a row, speaks out to the fans, and he speaks about, honestly, how they didn't go out there to lose, but he did take responsibility.
I want to apologize to all of Herd Nation for a completely unacceptable finish to a really solid performance Saturday. 100% on me. I take extreme ownership over it as the head coach. It's my job to help our guys finish at the end of those type of games. That game was more than winnable. No disrespect to Georgia Southern, who did a phenomenal job of taking advantage of the opportunities and playing a full 60 minutes. But that was definitely a winnable game. Anytime you go up 20-plus points on the road against a really good team, you got to be able to finish it. That's my job. That's our job as coaches to help the players do that. That is not who we are. Obviously, that was the result Saturday night, but that's not who we are. That's not the standard of our program. Our players aren't excited about it. But we get an opportunity to correct it. We made a mistake. We lost the game. It's an opportunity for us to learn. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for the entire staff to learn. I appreciate all of the fans who were there, heard about the game, listened to the game, watched the game. I know you guys are as frustrated as we are when you get an opportunity like that and you don't close out. But our responsibility is to make sure we show up Thursday night and put on a very good show for this community, this university, and this program. We get to play to the standard that we know we're capable of playing of for 60 minutes. For 56 minutes in that game, I thought our kids battled their tails off, and when they needed us as coaches the most, we've got to be better. We've got to have a better plan for them to help them manage those situations as the game goes on. Again, apologize to all the fans. Trust me, our players play for you guys. They play for this university. We talked about before that game the reason you put on that green jersey is not just for you and your family, but it's for all the people that have come before you, all the people that cheer for you, all the people that support you. And every time you get to put on, it's an honor, and we want to make sure we represent it the right way. So I take full responsibility for it.
Coach Huff, taking full responsibility for the loss, does that make you feel better? You heard him say it. You got what you wanted. He came out, said, look, that was me. Not my players, that was me. And the players came out, of course, and said, no, that's us. Players make plays. But Coach Huff saying, look, that's me. I'm the guy. It stops with me. I'm the head coach. We didn't put him in the position. And we lost the game, so he's apologizing. What do you think? Is that good enough for you? Can we move on from the loss? I know a lot of people were upset that Marshall lost in that manner, even made bad beats. Scott Van Pelt had the bad beat this week with Marshall. I mean, you give up 21 unanswered, you're going to be featured somewhere on national TV. And so here we are, trying to move on. And that's where Coach is promising that he's going to take responsibility, make sure that this team now is getting ready and prepared for Georgia State.
I also take full responsibility for getting this team ready to go Thursday night. And we're excited about that opportunity against another really good opponent. I think, obviously, where we are in the transfer portal, we have a lot of new players in. Some of them know the Sun Belt, some of them don't. And the learning experience for us from Saturday night is you got to play a full 60 minutes in this conference because no team is ever out of it. And this teaches us that we got to continue to finish games out. No team's ever out of it, and if you ever let up, this is what can happen. So Georgia State coming in, a really good team, a lot of respect for Coach McGee. Have known him for a very long time in the coaching profession. He's done a phenomenal job building that roster as much as he could. He got the job late, and he's kind of put together a phenomenal staff, probably the most veteran staff experience-wise in the Sun Belt, just with all of the experience that he has. You can tell by the way they game plan, by the schemes they run, that they're being coached well. His kids play tough. They're physical. They got some quick twitch guys up front on the D-line that make it difficult to block and move. Defensively, they're sound. They run to the ball. Obviously, they beat a Power 5 school earlier in the year, and they've been close in the last few games. It's been some moments here, opportunities there where the ball just didn't bounce their way, but they've been close. They've been in every fight. They've played to the end. So we're extremely excited about it. The beauty of a short week, which started out to look like, when you look at the schedule, it's like, man, this is going to be a grind, but the good Lord does everything for a reason. He knew we were going to lose that game, and we needed to get the taste out of our mouth by coming back Thursday. So we got an opportunity to learn from that situation and be ready to go Thursday.
That's Coach Huff addressing the media earlier today in his opening remarks about the loss and moving ahead to Georgia State. Back to our text line. Texter says, Paul, all gas, no brakes, no mercy on both offense and defense. Marshall unleashes their wrath on Georgia State 41-17. Also, Texter says, Paul, Marshall will jump out to a 14-point lead at half. If the players get the message, the Herd will win by 21, or if they don't, it will be like Georgia Southern or Western. We win by 3 with the D holding at the end. More texts coming up, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Couple more from Coach Huff before we hit the break. Big question asked today. Coach has been rotating the quarterbacks. That's been the game plan. Is it Stone Earl? Is it Braylon Braxton? Stone Earl, Braylon Braxton. Who's going to be the quarterback? Who starts? Who finishes? We don't know what the plan is. And so one of the questions that was asked of Coach is on that plan to rotate the quarterback. Does it deviate? Do you go with the quarterback with the hot hand? And Coach goes into a little bit more detail about that.
No, it really, honestly, it's more of a field zone type of deal for us. Field zone and series, is what our plan was the first couple of weeks. There's certain field zones where we wanted to, be more run-oriented. And then there's certain field zones and situations where we wanted to be a little bit more throw-oriented. The part that tripped us up is either quarterback in, when we got the ball in the end zone, we got penalties. We got 2 touchdowns taken off the board. The quarterback at that point didn't matter. It was the field zone was deciding what we were attacking based on what they were playing. I think what happened was, especially Braylon, when Braylon got in, when we got in the score zone or in that area, we didn't get any penalties, so he got the ball in the end zone. Stone gets in, we get the ball in the end zone, but now we get the penalties. That sets Reese up for the 51-yard field goal. Well, I told Reese, I'm excited about you hitting the 51-yard field goal, bro, but I would rather have the touchdown. But that's kind of what happened. And it's hard. It's still my job. I get it. But it's hard to say well, it's the quarterback or it's this player when it's a team penalty. You know what I mean? It wasn't a missed throw. It wasn't necessarily a bad read. It was kids playing hard and they got a penalty. Now, some of the things that happened backed up, I've never heard of the intentional grounding. They explained it to me. It makes sense. It makes sense now. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but they explained it to me. It's a miscommunication between the go route and the hitch and what the read is based on the DB. But based on where it happened in the pocket, I fully understand that. But that's a momentum swing that changes kind of what we were, had planned to do. Then once we got towards that 4-minute mark, Coach Saban's always told me, when you get to 4 minutes, you take the air out of the ball. If they don't have the ball, they can't win the game. So you're looking for ways to run the ball efficiently. They know we're running the ball. We know we're running the ball. We put ourselves in a situation where we had some plus run options. We hand the ball off to the running back if they don't play a certain defense. If not, the quarterback gets around the edge with a plus run. Braylon's trying his best to get an extra yard. Ball's out. It's on the ground, then we got an issue. So, again, it wasn't necessarily hey, we're playing a hot hand or whatever it may be. We were kind of playing the flow of the game, and it didn't work out in our favor.
Coach Huff explaining how that's going down. What's his thought process? Back to the text line before we hear the final cut. Texter asks if there's any injury update on Metcalf. None given today. And we're not really going to get that kind of stuff unless it's just a situation where it's obvious the kid's not going to play. We're not going to really get those kind of injury updates. And part of that is because you really don't want to give the other team any more intelligence or information than you possibly can. After all, they're looking for information. They're scouring social media. Don't think they're not. Don't think other teams are not looking at social media, message boards, anything and everything. So understand there's sometimes a reason why information is controlled because the other team's looking for an edge. Also from the text line, texter wants to know, actually says, Paul, the players are right. It's on them. One less penalty here, one fewer turnover there, and it's a different outcome. It's on the players, but they are a team, and I love them. Let's move on. I'll be cheering them on at the Joan on Thursday. All right. So not happy with the loss. At the same time, you're not going to be one of those that got on social media and said, "Oh, I'm not coming to the game. Let's make a statement here." You know who you are. All right, one more from Coach Huff. This is sort of a follow-up, just talking about how the quarterback rotation, you don't have just the one quarterback anymore. And is this going to be the new norm for Marshall and maybe for college football?
I think it's by week. It's not a hey, this is our plan back and forth. I do think we have we have a bye week coming up. We've got some time off coming up. We wanted to address the first 3 games in conference to see where we were at all positions. During the bye week, we will make a decision on what way we go. It could be continue to use both at the if that's the best thing to help the team win. It could be to go with one. The kind of 2 quarterback option really came from more of the game plan and how we wanted to attack those specific teams, if that makes sense. Now, as we go, we'll still have that mindset, but we'll be able to assess now, okay, hey, both of them have played in games. Both of them have done some really good things. Both of them do things they like to clean up. Where are we at from an offense? Who and what do we really do well, if that makes sense? So that's kind of the plan.
Coach Huff, earlier today, we'll have more from him tomorrow. And, of course, we've got the game on Thursday. We'll have it for you right here. We go on the air at 4 o'clock on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. When we continue, let's talk about this Georgia State team with longtime play-by-play voice Dave Cohen. When we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40% to help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, John Garden, 304-525-1116. And in Barbersville, Marcia Slater, 304-736-6100. Metro Community Federal Credit Union has been serving the Huntington community for 7 70 years and is proud to announce our newest location in Lavalette is now open. Wayne County residents, you now have access to a modern banking facility, a full range of services, advanced technology, expert financial advice, and even a smart coffee kiosk cafe. Learn more about Metro Community Federal Credit Union online at metrocommunityfcu.com or visit us today on 5th Street Road.
Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
Giovanni's Pizza. Fresh, hot, and tasty. Have it delivered right to your door. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to our Tuesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Before we continue, let's go back to the text line. Texter just wrote in and said, Paul, Coach Huff just said what coaches are supposed to say. The players said what players are supposed to say. Each one trying to take the responsibility when it really is everyone's responsibility. The only thing that can make this better is to win. So still a lot of people taking issue with how Marshall lost the game against Georgia Southern and the way that Coach Huff and the players are taking responsibility. So it's going to be interesting on Thursday night to see how the herd comes out and how Georgia State comes out. And to tell us a little bit more about the game, we've got the longtime play-by-play voice of Georgia State, Dave Cohen. He's back with us again. Dave, it's good talking to you again.
How you doing, Paul? Thanks for having me on.
I'm well. I'm looking forward to this one. We got a Thursday night game here in Huntington. I know both teams are desperately looking for a win after really two tight games. Of course, the herd gave up 21 unanswered, and I know Georgia State had an opportunity to win its game. So, we got two teams really itching to get back out there on Thursday.
Well, no question, Georgia State coming off, if you go back a little bit, coming off the wins over UT Chattanooga and then a great win over Vanderbilt, went into an off week. And then we came back and lost to Georgia Southern and then went into another off week. And then came back and lost a 21-14 game last Saturday to the Monarchs of Old Dominion. So I'm not so sure that the two off weeks over a span of 3 weeks was the best thing for Georgia State football. Whatever momentum they were going to ride out of the Vanderbilt win really dissipated heading into that Georgia Southern game. And, our schedule is really crazy this year. We still have not left Atlanta. We opened up the first game at Georgia Tech, which is, only about 3 or 4 miles from Georgia State's campus in downtown Atlanta, just down the downtown connector. And then we played the first 4 games at home against Chattanooga, Vanderbilt, and then our first 2 conference games with Georgia Southern and Old Dominion. But, starting Thursday night up at your place, we start what I call the Sun Belt Gauntlet for Georgia State at Marshall on a Thursday night, followed by a game at Appalachian State. Step out non-conference on November 2. We got to go to UConn. And then we close out that 4-game road trip November 9 at James Madison and Harrisonburg. So 4 tough ball games. It would have been nice to have obviously beaten Georgia Southern. That's our in-state rival. Old Dominion was, again, a 21-14 ball game. They didn't dominate. We certainly didn't dominate. It was a winnable game for both. But they get out of the stadium with a win. And, I'm fully expecting Marshall. And I got home in time to catch a good bit of the second half of the game on Saturday. I think when I got in the house, Marshall was up 23-3. And I'm sure you've talked about how that game closed out. So I'm sure that Marshall is lying in wait for Georgia State to arrive up in Huntington.
I think Coach's words when he was asked about the temperament of that first practice was pissed off. So, I think that they're pointing at this game like they have to come out and be different than what they were. Now, this Georgia State team, you mentioned that momentum, beat Vanderbilt, and that's a pretty good win. And since then, maybe not played up to expectation. Where does this team need to get better? What needs to happen for them to get back to where they might have been that first part of the season?
Well, the first thing that I would point to would be the quarterback play. We've got two new quarterbacks, a transfer from Pitt and Penn State, and Christian Veyer, who has started all 5 of our games this year. Played pretty well in those first few games. The Georgia Tech game was kind of a situation where we have so many new players. I think when we were in New Orleans at Sunbelt Media Day, when he addressed the media, our new head coach, Del McGee, said we were at 48 new players that were not on the roster a year ago, and I know now that number is a little north of 50. So I said most of these coaches that have had a roster turnover similar to what we've had at Georgia State, it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to kind of let the dust settle once you start actually playing games and see exactly what you have. But they did settle down and beat Chattanooga, like I said, and beat Vanderbilt. But the quarterback play and the run game have not been what they were, even going back to Vanderbilt. Against Georgia Southern, Georgia State rushed for only 29 yards, and then in the Old Dominion game last week, rushed for only 57 yards. So that offensive line running back communication has obviously got to get better and get back in sync like it was for Chattanooga and Vanderbilt. You're not going to win a lot of football games if you're only rushing for 29 yards or 57 yards, like I said in the last 2 ball games, unless you've got quarterback play that's just out of this world, and we haven't had that either. So we've got some quality receivers. Our running backs, to get back to the running game, our running backs are fast, but they're a little on the smaller side. We don't really have what you'd call like a Marcus Carroll type power back, our former running back who's now at Missouri. So definitely the running game has got to get back in gear for what it was early on in the season.
Defensively, how would you characterize this team? I know talking to Coach Huff earlier today, said they're not as big as Georgia Southern, but they're quick and they've got a little pop to them. How would you characterize this defense?
Probably I would say still coming together. There are a few names that if you saw us a year ago, you would remember. The defense is kind of anchored in the middle by Justin Abraham, a redshirt junior, who along with Xavier Robinson are the 2 leading tacklers. Robinson, one of the new players that came in, actually a Division II player who came in and has made quite an impact. And then the other defensive player is Kevin Swint, who is originally from the state of Georgia but transferred back to from Clemson to Georgia State. He was here last year, but playing much more of I don't want to say a bigger role, but a bigger role as far as leadership goes, both in the locker room and on the field. And I think another kid that has come in and made an impact out of the transfer portal is a former UCF Knight, and that's KD McDaniel, who's originally from Middle Georgia. He's come in and done a pretty good job. So, on the back end, Gavin Pringle, preseason All Sun Belt, still here. An impact player transfer from Georgia Tech is Kenyatta Watson. He had an interception in the Old Dominion game on Saturday. Jeremiah Johnson and Cam Marshall, guys that have been here at least a year, and the same with Isaiah Guy at the other cornerback spot. But they'll have their work cut out for them against, like you said, a Marshall team that knows they let one get away down in Statesboro, and nobody was pulling more for Marshall than I was sitting in my living room, hoping that Marshall gets a win on the road in Statesboro. It was kind of a crazy game and a crazy ending. But as I say sometimes, Paul, depending on what the situation is, put down the stick and move away from the hornet's nest. And I kind of see Marshall football as a little bit of a hornet's nest right now, meaning that they're not happy. As you said, they're a little pissed off after what happened. And for Georgia State, we've got to go in there and be the first team they play after what happened last week. So Georgia State, if Georgia State can go in and run the football, control the clock, utilize the receivers, especially Ted Hurst and other Division II newcomer. It could be an interesting game on Thursday night.
My guest is longtime play-by-play voice of Georgia State, Dave Cohen. And you come in with a new coach, Del McGee. We alluded to him earlier. How would you evaluate him and the job he's trying to put together so far in his first season?
Well, at his very core, the one thing that Coach McGee is that maybe the previous three coaches at Georgia State were not to the same extent is a recruiter. If you look at Coach McGee's background, he's from the state of Georgia, played his high school down in Columbus, Georgia, played at Auburn, played in the National Football League for a little bit, and then began his ascendancy in the coaching world. And, he was at Georgia Southern for, I think, one season. And it was either one season or two. I know he was the interim coach in a bowl game prior to going to Athens, Georgia, where he had been the last 8 years prior to coming to Georgia State. He'd been the running backs coach there for Kirby Smart. So if there's one thing that he has that I think the other coaches, remember Sean Elliott came in from South Carolina, Trent Miles came in from Indiana State, and Bill Curry had been on television the previous 11 years prior to taking the Georgia State job and being the first head coach. What we have in Coach McGee is a guy who is, quote unquote, a recruiter. He knows just about everybody in this state, and Georgia State is going to recruit the state of Georgia a little bit different than it has in the previous 14 seasons under those previous coaches. Coach Elliott and his staff tended to focus a lot where they came from, South Carolina. They pluck kids out of Florida. As you know, Georgia is one of the most talent-laden states in high school football. So the way they've approached it is, the metro Atlanta area and the surrounding counties count as one state, and the rest of the state of Georgia counts as a second state. And they are hitting the state hard. They understand they're not going to get every player. The 4 stars and the 5 stars are going to go Power 4. We've got, we've got Georgia Southern, we've got Kennesaw State, some other schools, in the state that are recruiting. But what Georgia State wants to do is get their fair share of what we'll call the Sun Belt level and or higher talent that they're able to get. And I think Coach McGee really has opened a lot of folks' eyes, high school football coaches' eyes across the state, who now have taken a closer look after Coach McGee was hired here at Georgia State. But again, initially, as I said, they hit the portal pretty hard because, the story with Coach McGee's hiring at Georgia State is we had already started spring practice, and we were into it about 3 or 4 spring practice sessions when Coach Elliott got the opportunity to go back to South Carolina. So he takes that job, and just like that, on a dime, Georgia State's got to shift into a coaching search for a few weeks. And Coach McGee comes in and hires a staff, and spring practice resumes. But at the same time, you got to build a roster, and so it's it all happened pretty quickly. And so I think that there will be a big jump from what we see from Georgia State football this year to what we see from Georgia State football maybe next year and or the year after, years 2 and 3 under Coach McGee. It'll be interesting to watch how their recruiting and their approach to recruiting makes a difference.
Dave Cohen is with us, longtime voice of Georgia State. The game coming up on Thursday. Now, something that was interesting earlier today, and I'm sure you haven't got a chance to go and look at the presser that Coach Huff had earlier today, but it was brought out, made aware to him that, hey, Coach McGee hasn't really set a starter yet for quarterback as well. And of course, Coach has been under fire for that all season with 2 quarterbacks, even possibly a third with Cole Pennington, but you have Braylon Braxton, you have Stone Earl. Interesting that we see this now in this day and age where you just don't have that set quarterback. And as you mentioned earlier, that's a position you're still trying to find the right guy for, or at least who's going to be the long-term starter here.
Yeah, you know how we talk about chemistry in sports, and I think that Georgia State, even though we're 5 games in, is still working a little bit on trying to find that, whatever that football chemistry is. Coming out of fall camp, Christian Veyer, again, the former Pitt and Penn State kid, won the job. Zach Gibson had transferred to Georgia State prior to Coach McGee's arrival. He was really a Sean Elliott transfer, but he's a local kid from Johns Creek High School who went to Akron, and then from Akron to Georgia Tech. And when the situation found itself what it was at Georgia Tech, he came over to Georgia State. And so we had quarterback competition between Christian Veyer, Zach Gibson, Kyle Lowe came in from Middle Tennessee State, Braylon Ragland, who'd been in the program coming in as a true freshman a little over a year ago. But ultimately Veyer won it. But, he was struggling a little bit to complete passes in the Old Dominion game. And so they ended up bringing Zach Gibson in late into that game. And, he was able to throw one touchdown pass, and we were driving for another when he got a blindside hit, fumbled the football, Old Dominion recovered, and they were able to run out the clock. So, that's how it was a 21-14 ball game. But it wouldn't surprise me if Veyer starts, but it wouldn't surprise me as well if we see Zach Gibson as well. I think the situation for Georgia State is kind of similar to what is going on at Marshall with regards to the quarterbacks and multiple guys seeing the field in one game.
Who do you think this game favors, Marshall or Georgia State? We got a short turnaround, both teams coming off a loss. Of course, the way the herd collapsed makes them a little bit more agitated, but at the same time, you got a short turnaround. I know that the home team has had the success as of late in this series, but if you're a betting man, what do you think is going to have to happen for Georgia State to win, and what will have to happen for Marshall to win?
Well, as we said earlier, this is not the most ideal time for Georgia State or any opposing team to be coming into Jones C. Edwards Stadium there in Huntington based on what happened in their most recent ball game. But, one thing that Coach McGee echoed earlier today at the weekly Tuesday press conference over at the stadium here was that this will be the first time, the Georgia Tech game, although it was on the road, it wasn't really a road game. This is the first time that they're really going to play a far from home road game as opposed to 3 miles from campus type road game. So I think echoing what Coach McGee said and the couple of players that we heard from today, Kevin Swint and Ted Hurst, they're all looking forward to getting on the road. They feel like it's going to build a little bit of team camaraderie. They're looking forward to being in what we'll call in football terms, a hostile environment. And putting together that circle the wagons mentality. But, as I said, Georgia State's going to have to be able to run the football. Michael Dukes, who transferred from Clemson in South Florida, has been effective. He's kind of a yards after the catch kind of running back, if you want to call it that. Freddie Brock is the only one back from the Georgia State team a year ago. Savion Wilkerson transferred from Colorado. We've just started to see C.J. Beasley, who you may remember from Coastal Carolina, and Jordan Ford, who transferred from Tulsa. All 5 of those guys could very well see the field on Thursday night. And like I said, Ted Hurst, the transfer from Valdosta State, is really the number one target, but there's a lot of guys, Jakias Cradle, Kadarius Thompson, Rycom Laney, Petey Tucker. The other good news they got this week was that Amon Green, the tight end who'd missed the first 4 games of the season, starting to work his way back into game shape. He got a few reps on Saturday in the Old Dominion game. So Georgia State can be balanced if they can control the clock a little bit and move the football on the ground.
My guest, the longtime voice of Georgia State, my friend Dave Cohen. Good talking to you again. I know you're looking forward to the trip. Bundle up. It's going to be a little chilly compared to what you're used to these last few weeks. I don't know. Do you even own a winter coat? I mean, I'm not saying it's snowing or anything, but it's going to be a little colder than what you guys are used to.
Well, Paul, originally I'm from Boston, so
you got this covered.
I'm used to the cold, but I've been down here a long time, and I don't embrace it the way I used to in my younger years. But yeah, I will. Of course, we'll be in the press box, even though I like the window open. We'll be a little warmer. It's our sidelines guy, Sam, I'm a little worried about. I told him he better dress appropriately for Huntington, West Virginia. But yeah, looking forward to it. I always enjoy coming to Huntington. The one thing that I've always enjoyed in the many years that I've been involved on the radio with Georgia State is going on road trips to places that I would not normally have an opportunity to visit. and Huntington and a lot of these other places in the Sun Belt and our previous conference, the Colonial Athletic Association. A lot of those places are places that I wouldn't normally get to go to. And I always enjoy visiting those cities and towns and seeing, how other folks are living and operating across the country. And I think it's always cool to come up to Huntington and get a taste of Huntington, West Virginia.
We're looking forward to having you back, and of course, this won't be the last time we see you. Basketball season is quickly approaching, so we'll see you sooner than we think after this game. As always, pleasure to do it with you here. I appreciate your insights, and look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Same here, Paul. I appreciate you having me on, and best of luck to both Georgia State and Marshall.
Thanks, Dave. That's Dave Cohen, the longtime voice of Georgia State. Quick timeout. We're going to hear from Marshall basketball coach Cornelius Jackson. It was Sun Belt Media Days today, and we'll get his comments when we continue on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hey, Lex, I got a question for you about our friends over at K&B Pest Control.
Shoot.
Do you think they'll eliminate my mother-in-law?
I think so.
She's in the house, kind of pesky.
From what I understand, they'll kill for your business, so you might want to have a talk.
No, these guys are great, man. Locally owned and operated in Huntington, West Virginia, serving the tri-state area. Free estimates, highly skilled staff. There's specialized training and inspections and solutions. So no matter what's going on, they'll figure it out. They'll find out where these pests are coming from, and they will eliminate them.
Yep, and you can even do comparisons with their Facebook page. They got real pest pics. This is when the critters start coming out, Terrence, so if you're seeing problems like they have on their Facebook page, call 304-523-4281.
Go ahead and ask for Patrick or Becca. They will hook you up. We promise you it's KNBPestControl.com. Go ahead and hit them up online as well. K&B Pest Control, they will kill for your business.
Trust the guys with over 40 years of experience at K&B Pest Control.
Hey, Tri-State, there is a place to shop at. The Huntington's Peddlers Mall is now open in the historic Central City District in Huntington. Over 200 vendors specializing in vintage antiques, home decor, furniture, collectibles, new mattresses, and everything in between. Peddlers Mall, located 800 14th Street West in Huntington. It's the place to go. Open 7 days a week. Visit anytime. Check out the website, peddlersmall.com, for more information. It's the Tri-State place to shop, Huntington's Peddlers Mall.
In the early morning hours of September 27th, Hurricane Helene made its way into the mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia, leaving devastation in its wake. In response to this tragedy, the Kindred family of stations is partnering with the Robert Newland Air Park to organize a Hurricane Helene relief concert on Friday, October 25th at 7 p.m. at the new pavilion at the Robert Newland Air Park. As proud Appalachians, we know the toll this disaster has taken on our friends and communities. For just $10 at the door, you can join us for this essential fundraiser, and we're honored to feature performances by the Bing Brothers Band, Jack Crack, the Huntington Blues Society, Larry Atkins, the Karaoke King, and many more artists to be announced. Food and beverages will be available for purchase at the pavilion and inside the Fly-In Cafe. All proceeds will go directly to organizations in some of the hardest hit areas of Western North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. Let us stand together as a community, united in compassion and hope. We look forward to seeing you there, supporting those in need with the Fly-In Cafe, the Robert Newland Air Park, and Kindred family of stations.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year again, football season. Frank's has you covered from Marshall, WVU, the rest of college football to the NFL. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of The Drive. I want to get to Coach Jackson's comments quickly, so we're about out of time on the show. Before we do that, let me go to the text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, the problem with the apology is getting the loss back. Okay, that's what he's trying to say. Apology is great, not getting the loss back. All right, I understand. Let's go to Coach Jackson. Earlier today, he spoke to the Sunbelt media. It was a media day for basketball. And first question asked to Coach Jackson was just about the transition, being an assistant coach to now being the head coach for the Thundering Herd.
I think being here, I've been here 7 years now. Coach D'Antoni gave me a lot of freedom to kind of do a lot more than probably your average assistant. And my relationship, I recruited Obina, I recruited Nate Martin as well from Texas State, Wyatt Fricks. Ryan Nutter, just to name a few. So I've had a pretty good relationship with those guys. And then we bring in a Michael Dawson, who I've known for years. He's a Huntington guy, Huntington kid. And then Jalen Spear, we brought in the twins, the Gibbs twins. So it's been kind of a easy transition in that sense. It's been fun kind of putting these guys together and seeing how they mode on and off the court.
Another question was asked about how the off-season preparation has looked for the Thundering Herd.
It's been fun. It's been really fun. Like I said, man, these guys are all quality young men, which is very important to us when we're out there on the recruiting trail. Obviously, we have to get talented basketball players, but quality young men with character is very important to us. And we feel like we brought in a good nucleus of those guys. Guys that can do multiple things on the basketball court, hard workers, high character, high IQ guys. So it's been fun.
And then follow-up question, what's the exciting part about what do you look at for your philosophy offensively, defensively? Will it be more of the same? Will you kind of tweak some things? What are you kind of looking forward to when it comes to your kind of overall coaching philosophy?
Offensively, it'll be similar to Coach D'Antoni's. We want to get up and down the floor. We want to score points. Defensively, we want to be a little bit more physical than we have been in the past. So we're spending a ton of time on creating that mindset of just being more physical. The Sun Belt obviously is a physical, aggressive league, and we're trying to adapt and kind of bring that part of the game out in this team.
All right, and quickly, one more for Coach Jackson on how the team will look compared to last season.
Well, this team and every team is different, Adam. We have, to be honest with you, up until this point in practice, we've actually shot the three-point ball better than we did last year in practice. I mean, obviously, when you lose Camden, who can shoot from the white line and probably shoot 45% from the white line, it's a little different. But I feel this year we have multiple guys that can shoot the three. I mean, Nate Martin, he hadn't taken a three his whole college career, and he banged the three in practice the other day. So he's really worked. Obina's shooting the three a lot better. Jalen Spear, he shot the three, I believe, 38% last year. Ryan Nutter, who didn't have a great shooting year last year, shooting the ball better. So I feel overall as a team, we've added more shooting than we had last year.
And that's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. If you missed any part of the show today, you can go back and listen to it later on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, you can find me on social media. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Paul Swann. Of course, we're going to give away 4 tickets now to the game on Thursday night, the Family 4-pack. So, everyone who's texted in today, keep an eye on your phone. If you get a text from me, you won. If you don't get a text from me, well, we'll give you another opportunity to win tomorrow. Totally random, so your chances are as good as everybody else's. So hang on the line. A winner will be named soon, and you might be that winner. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC and W231BS Huntington.
Metro News, I'm Mike Knowlting. Fairmont State University has been named